To my third video. Thank you so much if you joined me yesterday. I got some lovely feedback from some of you, which I'll read out a little bit later. But I'm so glad that I can help you, and this is going to be an ongoing broadcast during your lunch at 12 o'clock every day. So today's lunch and learn is going to be on Glamour Eye. Yesterday we did a Smokey Eye, which is basically darker eyeshadow all over just to give it a really fierce look. And we used the colors from our palette, which is the Smokey Eye Set palette. I'm going to be using the same colors just so that you can see how versatile that palette is and be able to try a couple of different looks. So I'm using pretty much the same colors in the palette. Yesterday we used the Cabernet and the Suede, which are these two colors. You can see it's got this beautiful burgundy look. And today we're going to be using the chocolate. So you can see it's a gorgeous brown chocolatey color with some gold flecks. Really, really nice for summer. You can add more color to make it darker or lighter, whatever suits you. So we're going to get started. So yesterday I started with my eyeshadow first, and then I put my foundation on. Today I'm going to put my foundation on first and then put the eyeshadow. So starting with a primer, I'm going to apply it all over. This primer helps the foundation sit, especially in summer when we tend to become a little bit sweaty and become a lot more active outdoors. It'll be nice to have your foundation stay in place where you put it in the morning and not end up at the bottom of your face. I'm going to add my Golden Beige foundation. And this time, I'm going to add a little bit of my Sheer Glow with it. That's just going to give it a nice summer glow to my complexion. So mix the two together, warm it up in your hands, and then apply it. I'm just using a mirror above here so I can see what I'm doing. The reason why I warm it up in my hands is because it's easier to spread, but you can go ahead and use a foundation brush or a sponge, whatever you've been using, whatever you're comfortable with. What I find if you do use a sponge, sometimes it's nice to just moisten it a little bit so that the product doesn't completely get absorbed and you lose a lot of product that way. Okay. I just love how this Sheer Glow highlighter kind of gives me a nice airbrushed look when combined with the foundation as well. A little bit of concealer. So I'm going to use the dark concealer. And what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of the Sheer Glow highlighter with this concealer. These colors are designed to match your skin tone. So if you are not exactly sure which color to get one that's closest to your skin. It usually just finds a way to match its skin tone. It's the technology that's in these products which is just really helpful and amazing, and you're not going to walk around with that line there. So you can see I'm getting all the way inside because this is really my darkest area. I also have a high bridge nose, and you can see, so what that does is it not only creates shadows around my face, but it also makes my eyes look closer together. So by keeping that lightness around my eye, and especially in the corner, that'll give my face a bit more balance. And balance is really what we're looking for. That's why we use certain techniques, because some of us have eyes that are wider set or closer together, or flatter noses, higher nose bridge. And the idea is mainly to just balance it, and we can use highlighting and shading techniques to do that, which is basically using darker, lighter eyeshadows. So just using my finger here to go over all the areas that I want to cover. any spots that you might want to. I usually like to use a really light application of foundation. There, that looks really nice. I like using a lighter application of foundation and then just covering up my floors with a concealer as opposed to trying to cover up the whole thing. So I'm using a tan foundation powder, which is slightly darker than my skin tone, and that's because I've got a bit of a tan. I don't know if you can see it. And that I got that when I was in Vegas for our company conference, which was such a fun, incredible time where they launched all these fabulous products. But in saying that, I want to just add a little bit of that color back into my skin without looking too dark. Just a little bit down there. So now this has given me a nice match to my skin tone. The Sheer Glow highlighter kind of brightened up my foundation, and with a soft brush of the tanned foundation powder, that's kind of balanced that skin tone. And I love it because we have new foundation powders that are being launched, but our old ones that are still available online have a nice radiance to them. They've got a bit of shimmer, which I tend to like. So now we have our foundation on, we have our concealer, and basically we've got a beautiful base on, and having the clean, fresh-looking skin is really what we want to achieve. So now I'm going to apply the foundation. Using the chocolatey brown color, I'm going to apply, so this is the same color as in the Duo palette. There, I've just got an individual palette of it. So just rub your brush in it and tap it because you don't want that to sprinkle down onto your face. What I tend to do as well is just tap a little bit on my hand so that I push the product into the brush and it's not going to fall on my face. So now what you can see, this is a key here. Looking into the mirror, find out where that bone is. So depending on what kind of eye shape we have, that will determine where your bone is. Some people's is higher, some people lower, but I have hooded eyes, which means my lash line to my crease and my crease to my brow bone, it's a lot bigger on my hood than it is on my mobile lid. And I apologize for all these terms, but I'm sure after a few sessions you'll get to know them yourself. And you'll be talking to people and they're not going to know what you're talking about. So you can tell them to come and join these lunch and learns. So right where that brow bone is, press that brush, give it a good jiggle there, and you're kind of just going to press it into that line. Now notice I'm really just about the size of my brush. That's the kind of area that I'm covering, and a little bit around it. Can you see that? So when I open my eyes, you can still see my lid. Now what I'm going to do is just gently blend that. So I was tapping before, and now whatever is on my lid, I'm going to bring it forward. Not going too far out because I have downturn eyes, and the last thing I want to do is drag my eye down. So press, and then just once you have enough product on your skin, just use the wrist to blend it forward. A little bit out. So you can see you have a bit of color in your crease. And I'm not going right, I'm not starting it in my crease because I want to give an illusion of my eye being lifted. So I'm going a little bit above my crease, and that'll take up some space on my hood. If your eyes are pretty balanced, what I mean is that your hood and your mobile lid are pretty much the same size, then feel free to just go right in the crease and not have to go too far above the line. As I mentioned, finding that bone is a good rule of thumb. So you can see there. Just going to bring that up a bit, just balance it. What you'll find is trying to get both sides looking the same is always the trickiest part when you're doing your eye makeup. So I'm just going to balance that a little bit. Now you can see I don't want to go too high up because I want to keep that space for highlighter. And I'm just blending it. What I like to do after applying my eyeshadow is I like to just use my finger to blend that out. What that does is it gets rid of that line. You don't really want to see where the eyeshadow starts and stops. So you can see the difference. See how there's a line there? And then here it's kind of diffused. It's the same thing on the other side. This is a great technique, and what you'll find is if you do have eyeshadows with a bit of shimmer, as you spread them up using your finger, it becomes a little bit matte. It almost looks like you've used two different eyeshadows in the same color. So there we go. It's beautifully blended. The next color I'm going to use using a new brush is my Suede, which is the color that we used yesterday with the Cabernet. So getting my brush into the Suede, again, getting a good amount of product on there, tapping it just a little bit on my hand so that product sits in. I'm going to go on my Mauve Lip, which is where it's highlighted. Now this Suede is really beautiful for people with a little bit more color and who have a tan. If you are in Canada, you probably don't have a tan yet because we've had the longest winter ever. Unless you've been to Vegas, then it would be a little slightly different situation. But you might want to use linen because the Suede tends to look a little bit orangey if you don't have a tan or a bit of color on you. So what you can see is I'm applying it to my Mauve Lip. I'm being really careful not to go up into that chocolate. I'm keeping my Mauve Lip nice and clean with the Suede, and then going a little bit inside my eye with the Suede. And the reason being I want to keep my eyes nice and spaced out because of that high nose bridge. If you've got a pretty balanced face, a beautiful nose, you probably can bring that color a bit more closer together. We have to work with what we're given. I'm going to add a bit more chocolate to this side. You can always, it's always okay to go back, fix it up if you need to. And if you notice, I always just start with where I first place my eyeshadow, tapping it lightly and adding if I need to. Remember, you can always add, but it's harder to remove. And then blend it upwards. There you go, that looks a bit better. So I'm going to use my linen next, which is highlighter. And what I want to show you is, you can see that pretty much this is blended up beautifully. Because I have so much space on my eye, I don't need to put more highlighter. I don't need to bring more attention to it. If you have a smaller hood, you may want to put a little bit more highlighter, and you can use the linen for that. What I am going to do is I am going to use the highlighter, but only the teeniest bit, because what I want to do is really just get under the brow to accentuate it. You can almost barely see it, but when the light hits, it's going to be really pretty. So can you see the difference? Very slightly. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So again, really get under that brow. Start off in the in the arch, because that's where you want most of the product. I'm bringing it right under there, because that's going to help define my brow. And there you go. So the next step I'm going to do is going to use a little bit of my primer. So I just put a little bit of my primer right there. Dipping my brush in the primer to get a nice gel base. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that eyeshadow color. Now do it in the corner so you don't sort of affect the rest of the palette. But what that will do is give me quite a nice gel liner. You can even use water for this. Okay. And really close to the lash line, I'm going to look in the mirror for this. I'm going to draw a really nice line. You can see drawing eyeliner is almost one whole tutorial on its own, because it really does depend on your eye shape, the kind of eyeliner that you draw. But I'll just explain to you what I'm doing here. I'm going to put a little bit more Suede just before I do this. Where is my Suede? Just clean it up a bit. Okay. So in this corner, I'm going to go right close to my lash line. Use your finger to pull your eye out if you need to. Apply your product a little bit at a time. Feather it out. Like, you can use a black eyeliner for this. You can use a pencil, you can use liquid, but I want to show you how to make the most of your palette. So I've mixed primer with my eyeshadow, taking it from the corner of the palette so I don't affect the rest of the palette. And you can see it's given me a really nice clean line. So a little bit underneath. Very slightly. And with the other side. Just really slightly. Okay. One last thing I'm going to add is with the highlighter that I used under my brow. Just going to go in the corner there. If you have wide set eyes, you might want to avoid this, because what that does is it actually spaces your eye out a little bit more. Most eye shapes can use this. What I love about this technique is really all you need to do is just vary the colors, and you can use it with any color. You can use light and neutral colors if you want to wear it to work. You can wear darker colors if you want to go out. So what I'm going to do now is just curl my lashes. Give it a good curl. Give it a couple of pumps right at the base, and then one towards the middle and one towards the end. That'll really help it curl out. Using our beautiful Long Story mascara, you can see, let me move out of the way, you can see how beautiful the bristles are. They're firm enough, let me show you, they've got enough bend to them, but it's still firm enough to be able to have control. So get it right into the lash line, zigzag it, and twist it up. One little tip, if you do get mascara somewhere on your face as you're doing this, instead of trying to wipe it off straight away, let it dry. Then take a Q-tip or a cotton bud, depending on where you come from. Same product, different name. Put a little bit of powder on it, setting powder, and it'll flake off beautifully without affecting the rest of the makeup. And there you go. So it just gives you a beautiful, clean, neutral eye that you can wear for work or out, depending on how used to wearing makeup you are in eyeshadow. I'm going to pop some blush on me. So to find out where to put the blush, a good thing you can do is squeeze your cheeks together, but what you don't want to do is put the blush in that hole, because what that does is it drags your face down because you end up putting blush here. And if you think about it, nobody ever blushes in the holes of their cheeks. They usually blush up here. So to find out the best place to put your blush, find the bone, the apple. When they say the apple of the cheek, it's usually the bone. Find it right there. Place your blush brush and just give it some beautiful circular sweeping motions in the same spot, and then drag it out to the side a little bit and to the front a little bit. There you go. What you don't want to do is bring the blush too far forward, because if you do have a round face, that'll just accentuate it. Okay, find the bone here, pop it there, and jiggle. It's really strange. I always find it easier to do one side of my face than the other. I don't know if anybody else has that same issue, but please feel free to share any experiences you have. I would love to know any tips that you have that you've figured out. And there you go. I'm going to apply our beautiful lip liner called Pink Mauve. See that there? My cousin, when I was really young, actually taught me how to use lip liner. It really makes such a difference, not just to make your lips look bigger, but it really does accentuate your shape. It prevents the lipstick from bleeding, especially for people with lines on their lips. People who smoke tend to have a lot more lines, so unfortunately, definitely want to use a lip liner. I like coloring it in because if for some reason I am eating, as you probably are while doing this, if some of the product does disappear, you're not left with that line. So it just gives you a really pretty look. And I'm going to use my brown sugar like I usually do. I love this gloss. It's a great gloss for summer. And it's great when you're doing up your eyes because it tones it down a little bit. So that's what you have. Another thing you can do is you can also use a red lipstick when you're using brown eyeshadow. There's just a beautiful combination with that. Just a quick sweep just to balance everything. And one last thing, which is my brows. I almost forgot the brows. So give it a good brush. We've defined it really beautifully with the highlighter at the bottom. Make sure I got the right color. This is Toffee, and it's just perfect for people even with blonde eyebrows. It's a great color. Always use a lighter color than your hair to define your brows. Anything too dark tends to age you a little bit, and that is definitely not the look we're going for. There you go. So, thank you so much for joining me again this afternoon. a couple of things that I wanted to quickly read out for you. I hope that I can bring it up. This was just a little thank you from a few people. That's okay. I'll quickly read out for you. I hope that this primer helps the foundation when you're using brown eyeshadow. They're out for you. I